I'm clicking the button. It's already blue. And we're
God
live.
is smiling upon us today.
I know, seriously. It is Friday, October 8th, 2021. It is 5 o'clock p.m. Ben and I were discussing our personal terms of service that we are going to want to put into all of our interactions with people, I think, going forward. But I generally also just wanted to say that there was something about saying 2021 today that the second that I said it, there was a part of my brain that went to, and I will take the monologue, went to Y2K. And like,
Mm.
I think that like Y2K is this forgotten part of our collective panic that we kind of like with the Aztecs 2012 end of the world like depiction, like we just kind of like subsumed it into our consciousness. We're like, we're all gonna forget that we believed in this thing. But I remember in high school, so it was 2000, I was in high school. I remember being in my parents' basement having a little New Year's Eve party with a bunch of my good friends because I was in high school, the sophomore, junior. And basically like waiting for all of the lights to go out, the electric grids to turn off, like everything bad going to happen. And nothing happened. Like
It
it
was
was,
such a letdown.
yes. And so can I actually ask? So I'm like, I don't know why that hit me. It's not like I don't know, I'm not aware of the time that I'm in all the time, but there was something about saying 2021 today that like just hit me. I was like, if you were born in 2000, you are now 21 years old, you are of age to drink, like everything else, you're an adult. Like, I'm just kind of curious. I'm like, huh. Like, I wonder what it's been like to like grow up completely in Y2K.
Well, my Y2K experience was that a good friend of Tammy and mine, let's just call him Dave, was convinced that, well, and Dave is a computer scientist, he was convinced that Y2K was going to be the end of civilization. Um,
There's like
so,
a lot of people that were
no,
smart.
no,
I want to bring in Mike Godwin to talk about this.
he was,
Sorry.
he is not a crank, he's not a silly person. I never thought it was going to be that big a deal, but Dave wanted to go out into, a place where we were heavily not dependent on anything. And so he rented a like cabin in the woods kind of situation. Um, didn't have internet or anything, and invited his friends to come out and hang out so that when the apocalypse came, at least we'd have firewood and that sort of thing. And there we were at midnight, and absolutely nothing changed. And here we were out in the middle of the woods, and we had a nice time. We had a fire,
But
and
like,
we,
but wouldn't we have like what? How much better would we be as humans if we had one moment like that for like vaccine truth testing? Like, right? Like, we could all be the generous people and be like, we came to this cabin, we're still having fun. We gave you the benefit of the doubt, but we're all gonna just collectively forget your ignorance and move on. Like, I feel like we don't have that moment with this.
that's right, because we're not allowed to have fun anymore.
Oh,
But
thank
in
you.
lieu of fun, it is cheese night. And it's just us cheese night because Scott is, doing his Scott thing, and
And
Genevieve has a new
Genevieve,
baby.
yeah,
Um,
but she might
but
come on later.
I had a revelation today, um, which was that if Facebook can make me click through their terms of service, and all these companies that I interact with can impose any rules they want on me by saying there are terms of service and making me click through them, then I should be able to do that too, both for companies and for people who want to interact with me. And so I think I'm going to do this. I'm just going to have like a click through agreement. And, if you're a company that wants to sell me something, I'll send you my terms of service. And if you're individual who wants, like, to talk to me
Okay,
about something or
this
to
is
have a cup of
sure.
coffee, I'll send you my terms of service. But and if you don't, click through them, then we just don't interact, and it's fine. Nobody's forcing you to click through my terms of service.
This doesn't
But
actually seem like it's going to resolve your problems, just like terms of service don't resolve the platform's problems. Like, so
well,
here,
I feel like it's a principle of the thing. They have terms of service when they interact with me, so I should be able to have terms of service when I interact with them.
no, that's
But
not
the
how
problem is,
contracts work, but okay.
the problem is that
That's
I don't
not
really
how it
know what
works.
that I don't really know what my terms of service should be.
Okay. I thought that this was going to be a very different conversation. Like, I thought that your terms of service were like,
You thought I was being metaphorical.
no, I didn't actually. I thought you were being very serious, but I thought your terms of service were going to be like how other private individuals were supposed to interact with you, not how the companies were supposed to interact with you. And also, I thought that, like, so I have some very clear terms of service. I do not, if I sign up to do your event, I do not want to do a pre-call to practice my Zoom. Like, I do not need that. Right?
You don't need Zoom practice.
I don't need Zoom practice.
Do you need being on a panel practice?
No.
Because you've never done that before, and maybe you don't actually know how to talk.
Yeah. I don't need you to, like, seek out my expertise on something which you compliment me at for like long periods of time, and then demand a written script that I have, like, when you're paying me no money and I'm doing all of this out of, like, the goodness of moving conversation and information and ideas forward. And, like, I'm not going to take another 5 hours out of my day to come up with, like, a comprehensive script to ask and, like, a bunch of people that is going to be a 60-minute panel between 4 people in which everyone will get to say 10 minutes worth of stuff. Like, there's, right? Like, and so, like, this type of thing, those are, like, do not invite me to something, and when I say yes, not follow up with a Google invite. That
okay, so don't you think you should have a click? Don't you think you should have a click-through agreement that says when I interact with Kate Klonick, if I invite her on a panel and she agrees, I understand she is not doing the goddamn prep call?
Yeah, I kind of, like, but you also, here's the thing. I have a very, this is particular to me, and it's going to sound like, I have a very wide range of, like, people who have never, ever, like, who want me to speak on something and, like, are very, like, in some area that never interact with my world. So, like, let's say the New York State Bar Association, which is, like, a completely, like, a very, I almost said austere, august, like, kind of, like, organization of trial and serious legal attorneys that, like, is a professional organization, and they invite me to speak at an internet panel, and they don't know what they don't know. And you can't, like, begrudge them that, right? Like, you're kind of like, this isn't your specialty, and yes, I will talk on your panel and do whatever. And they're also not people who have done tons of panels. And so they're, like, putting it together for the first time. And so you have to be kind of generous and kind of kind to them. But then there are people who are academics and do this type of thing all the time. And you're kind of like, what the hell is going on? Like, why is this so hard for you? And then there's, like, industry stuff. And that is in particular, like, very, like, you're kind of like, okay, like, why haven't you figured this out yet? But all of it is, like, very varied, which means that, like, I would feel like a jerk. Like, a lot of people, I have to be honest, in certain places do not know how to send an invite to, like, a thing.
But like, isn't that sort of the point of the click-through agreement, that you don't actually have to be the jerk because they've already signed it without reading it?
But this is the point of the contract. Do I want, like, I don't give a fuck if they sign the contract. Like, there's nothing enforceable. I just want them to know how to interact with me. So what I actually want them to do is to read the terms, not just click through it.
Well, and now you're asking a lot.
Yes.
I just want them to sign the damn thing so that when they violate it, I can just say you're in violation of terms of service 3A1.
And you can just, like, you can just quit the thing.
Yeah, I say retract that demand, or
I don't
you
even
know,
haven't even
you
gotten to
already
the point.
signed the terms of service. You can't ask that of me.
I don't even haven't even gotten to the point in which I feel comfortable asking people for where I feel comfortable asking people for money to speak, which you yell at me about all the time and a lot of other people
I
yell
have
at me
said this
about,
to
but
you
like
privately, Kate. I'll say it publicly. Every day, stand in front of a mirror and watch yourself saying the words, and my fee is. Just
uh
it takes practice.
I recently did this to a private organization that is literally like a professional conference, like one of those conferences that charges $500 to lay people to attend
Oh,
it.
and
And
you
I
felt
said,
guilty for saying,
no. And I said, I named a very reasonable fee. And they said, we'll get back to you. And then they responded and said, we're going to pay you your fee, which by the way is like, was like very, like, it was less than like it was far less than like I would be making an hourly rate at like a firm. And like, they were like, we'll pay you your fee. This is the first time we've ever paid anyone for this. I'm like, so you're just grifting everybody? Like, that's terrifying. Like, that you're making all this money off of this entire conference. Like, that's bonkers. Like, they're like, please don't tell anyone that you were paid. And I was like, no, I'm not going to do that. Like, that's
yeah.
crazy.
Mike Godwin has an excellent point in the Greek chorus, which is that I'm just going to read it. He says, yeah, asking for a fee helps me manage my schedule. It
Oh.
is super, that is exactly right. It is very worth.
It has helped
Uh,
me manage my schedule. Wait, so can we transition to what? Do you have a three-part? Do you have a three? I have a three triumvirate thing that was like
well,
more
that,
operable post.
so
Like,
ha-
I'm going to bring Mike Godwin in.
No,
So,
so this is great. I think we should go into the substance of our terms of service.
yeah.
So Kate's term of service number one is if she is appearing on a panel for you, you cannot ask her to do a prep call. Hello, Mike Godwin. Do you have a term of service?
Did you guys plan your outfits and glasses together? Or them wearing
Yeah,
the
we,
same
we
Yeah, no,
Mike
of
got the
course.
memo.
No,
Yeah.
I know. I had to send him a telegram because my internet was out, but we got it.
Wow. See what you did
So
there.
do you have a term of service?
I'm not going to join a panel that has only men on it. You know,
I think that's a good
always
rule.
required now. I just can't. I can't live with it. So
But wait,
I
is
don't-
that a term of service or is that
No,
it
I think
is.
that's
So
absolutely.
it is, Ben, because here's the thing. I may accept an engagement without knowing who's going to be on a panel because they don't know, right? But then I just say that if it turns out that the only people you get on your panel are men,
Okay, so good.
I'm out.
It's a total term of service.
Yeah.
I like that term of service. I mean, I obviously am, if I'm being asked to a panel, it's a little redundant for me. So like, but yeah, I think that's right. So I love this. So actually, when I was being told to start saying no to more things, which I have tried to do increasingly, but like gave me, and this was pre-COVID, people gave me a really helpful heuristic. Is it in a place that you want to go to and it's like would be fun for you to visit because you can like get a free trip out of it to like Italy or South Florida or somewhere that you want to, or like, you know, or someplace that you want to go? Is it some type of, are you getting something deep out of it professionally? Like you'll be around other people who are really great on the panel and like, or be surrounded by people who'll be listening to your ideas, that there's a lot, or are they paying you a lot of money? Those were like the three things, like pick, like there should be like, but like, I've had a hard time figuring out what to do with the geographic one. I basically just folded it into the money one.
You know, the thing I have to say that as a matter of principle, I have to consider the not male only event as universally applicable, even if this trip would otherwise be a sweet,
Yeah.
junket.
Yeah.
and I'm as I'm as eager to go to Ukraine or go to Ireland or Australia as anyone for an event, but I just don't do it. So
And
that's
how long has that been a term of service? Was that an amendment to your original terms of service?
yeah. I
Or
mean,
was
I didn't think about it. I would say it's relatively recent because. And not because I wasn't alert to the fact that in the different fields in which I work, many of them are very male dominated, and so it was sort of hard to staff up. But I mean, I've been doing this stuff for 30 years, and there's plenty of women who are perfectly great resources, and if it were, and to be honest, if it were a question of if it were my place or a qualified woman's place, I would just bow out, if that's the only way to get the panel, diverse, as far as gender goes. I mean, there are other diversity issues too, but that's an easy one, I think, to address in 2021. So, and in 2011 for that matter. So let's do it. I think so. I'd say the last 10 years. That's sort of my long answer to your short question.
Mm-hmm.
What about you, Ben? What are your
Well, I'm using this discussion to formulate my terms of service, because my main thing is that I want a clear set, something that I can create a click-through agreement about. I'm really just in string gathering mode about what the substance of it should be.
I really don't think that you want a click-through agreement. So, maybe you do, but you keep saying click-through. But, I actually think you want a meaningful terms of service. You're trying to build a better machine. I think you're trying to actually get people to... Wouldn't you be happier if you didn't have to even field an email from people?
All right. Let's
meet your terms of service.
Let me give you the list of hard and fast terms of service rules. I don't write law review articles.
There you go.
I just don't.
So wouldn't you love it if law reviews just got filtered out of your inbox?
I think it is a corrupt form. It's a terrible form. It shouldn't exist. I don't believe in things that have so little regard for the reader. So I don't believe in law review articles, and I don't write them. I have violated that terms of service only once recently, which was because of Danielle Citron. But I'm never doing it again, even though I like writing with Danielle. And when she asked me recently if I would write with her again, I told her yes, but not a law review article. So that's a pretty hard and fast rule, a pretty hard and fast terms of service.
Well, so here's a hard question, Ben. What if you do a colloquium and they offer to transcribe your remarks?
So this happens fairly frequently, and my rule is they are free to transcribe my remarks, but I will not cooperate with the process of site checking them.
I had a different. Oh no, that's actually.
I think that's to your detriment.
That's a risk. Let me explain. They had a. I was once transcribed from a colloquium, and then they sent me the draft. And the sites were all wrong, and they were terribly wrong, and it would have been my name.
That's what I was just going to say.
Sitting above these rotten citations, and I said, no fucking way. I literally said that to the editor-in-chief of the Law Review. I said, are you fucking kidding me? I could never recover from the damage that you are doing to me. And this is just the ones I caught. Who knows what ones I wouldn't have caught.
So I have my approach to this is I tell them, you're free to site check it any way you want and add whatever stuff you want to it, but I will disclaim any knowledge of or responsibility, and I won't review it. And they all seem happy with that, and so there are a number of law review articles that have a speech by me that they've randomly attached.
That's great. Let's just put nonsense out into the public sphere.
I want to look for all
Friend.
those articles, and I want to look for those articles and cite you for some proposition that you don't believe in and that is wrongly.
Well, no, it won't be it won't be like the transcript of what I said will be true, but it
Right.
might be attributed to William Shakespeare or to, and I will just, if anybody calls me on like a misattribution, I'll say I had nothing to do with that. I gave a speech at thing, and some law students added some citations. I really like feel like I have no, if you want to add a whole lot of citations that I didn't make to something that I wrote, that's really your responsibility, not mine.
I mean, I so this is interesting.
I mean, just to give you an idea of the citation that I would have been embarrassed, this one that I distinctly remember was that the footnote said that George Carlin was a defendant in FCC versus Pacifica.
Right.
So
I mean, that's just like, it's not the speaker's fault if some idiot student wants to include that.
But like but see, here's the really problematic part about law reviews is like the editorial board that made that decision disappears and like it is constantly changing every year. And so there's
Which is great because they can't challenge your assertions. Because they don't exist anymore.
I think that people like they're not going to blame the law review for that. They're going to blame Mike because he's the reliable party and he is the cited party. And so they're not like, even if Mike comes back to them and says, not that they'll ask Mike because no one asks, they just do. Like they'll just be like, oh, Mike erroneously cited to this, like fundamentally misunderstands Pacifica. And like, this is like it disparages his entire reputation and like
I think Mike's reputation has been preserved pristinely in amber, notwithstanding the ongoing efforts of student law review editors to besmirch it.
yeah,
And
well, I did a lot of work though to keep that, to keep my record relatively,
Ben, can we actually have a moment? I want to spill a little bit of dirt on and we've talked about this before because you and I have gone back and forth on this, but I want to hear Mike's thoughts on this. I have recently, so there was a publication that I have written for before, and there have been like a couple of moments in which they have tried to, I don't know how to say this, sensationalize the headline in which they sell like whatever it is that I'm writing. And I am relatively sophisticated, although I still doubt myself and then text Ben, that like basically like that my ability to push back. I'm like, can I push back on this? And he's like, yes. And I was like, okay, good. But like sensationalize the claims I am making or my position vis-a-vis the like a company or like whatever else. And I am very dismayed that this is like kind of part of what's happening. So, for example, this recently happened with the New York Times. They wanted to just sell like a slightly sensationalized version of like what I wanted to say. They wanted it to be like, I was inside Facebook. And so therefore I know these things. And I found that to be very deceptive given the conditions in which I was inside Facebook and what I knew. And so I really pushed back on that. I was like, absolutely not. You can't say that. They came back to me twice, 3 times, like trying to kind of like massage this headline into a first person narrative in which I was saying this. And I was like, no, like that's just not going to work. And then like they, and so whatever. And I was going to write another piece for them again a couple days later. And I saw like, and this is actually fascinating. They have a lot of headlines like this. So it's not particularly like I'm saying this is just about me. This is a very typical way of writing a headline. But they had a headline that said like, I was inside Facebook. This is how to regulate Facebook. And it was from it was quite well written actually. And it cited Daphne Keller, who I love. And like, it was a good piece, but it was like the exact same headline. And it was from a position of kind of a data scientist that had been inside Facebook and had done all this work and had like some thoughtful like advice. But it was so interesting to me that this was like, they had like tried to massage me into a similar headline. And it was like, it's such it was like, is this just search engine optimization? Is this, I don't even think it's SEO. Like, I think it's actually something else. Like, I think it's like what they know people click on, which is first person narrative.
We have a joke at Lawfare that when we have a really boring piece that's like super technical and exactly the sort of thing that no one would want to read, except the core, molten core of our core audience, we're going to give it the headline XXX Girls, 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 XXX, and then see
But
what
this is,
happens.
I mean, like, this is I mean, that's exactly right. No, 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 no. So that's exactly right. I will also say, as you have known me to do, Ben, I walk everything back to the most boring place possible because I don't like to overclaim on like anything that I'm saying and like whatever. It's fine. It's why I didn't, well, I say I was not good at being a journalist. I did not enjoy being a journalist. It was like not my, it was like not the right like jam for me because I wasn't going to ever upsell anything. And so like that was, I don't know. I think that this is kind of like one of these moments.
Yeah, but the tradition of misleading headlines sort of predates the internet, unfortunately.
Yes. No. I'm not saying that it doesn't. No, that's exactly right. Yeah. I'm just giving my personal.
You know, I just remember, and my favorite examples come from science journalism, because you'll have if you have a science journal article that has been written by scientists and gone through peer review and so on, and then a science journalist may write it up and characterize the conclusions of or the implications of the article in a way that's designed. It's clickbait. They'll basically rework it so that, was there a God before the Big Bang? Will suddenly be the headline of something that's a cosmology article about, the beginning of the universe. And there's a market apparently for that. There are a lot of people who just leaf through, science journalism because it's a kind of a niche of thrill journalism.
Ben, what do you do running a literal journalistic organization that specializes in the wonk? Like, and I will say that like I came up in Talking Points memo, which was a organization that was both very wonky and sophisticated, but also an organization that was very ideological. So they were like bent towards certain types of headlines. And so it wasn't like people would miss the nuance, but they were certainly wanted the nuance spun in their direction if they were going to read it. And I just wonder if you feel a similar type of pull.
Not really. I mean, we do first of all, the range of our readership is fairly narrow. There's a certain group of people who read us religiously. There's, I think, relatively small number of people are highly sensitive to headlines. We try to choose good headlines. Every now and then you have a piece that the headline drives. It doesn't happen very often for us. Mostly people read our stuff because it's responsive to research questions that they're thinking about, or because they're just very interested in the subject. So I think it's we're a bad example of that. I do think we chose to be a bad example of that, and there are we could chase the marginal click much more than we do. So, Mike, what other terms of service do you have?
Well, I do require that I read the version that before it goes into print. I have to the version. I have to see the very last version. That's not something I can enforce, but it's certainly something I can enforce by never contracting with that journal again or with that venue again. I have to see it because there are people. I mean, this is maybe self-important. It is probably self-important, but I worry that if people rely on me to have, to tell the truth, then I really have to be absolutely sure that what comes out under my name is true, and accurate. and also at the same, I mean, one of the things that I do sometimes I'll be quoted as saying something inaccurate, and I'll always try to publicize my mistakes, because that way, if I don't publicize a mistake, then I didn't think it was a mistake, and people can know that. But the terms of service aspect of it is that I have to, if you want to work with me, I have to see the thing before it goes to press or before you put it up on the web.
Kate, do you have other terms of service?
Sure. I think we're going to bring in like other people for terms of service, but Mike Godwin, you're a great American.
You are a great American.
You have well-coordinated outfits.
Even if you insist on reading your copy before it goes to press.
I have noticed that you've managed to hang your Shakespeare poster behind you. It's a good thing you did that after you gave your Where's the Lie story. We'll talk to you soon.
Yeah.
To David H., I just want to say Marginal Click is not the band name. It's the name of the album. It was the first album of the band. So KK, what are your other?
Click?
What's
I
that?
don't know what that is. What's Marginal Click?
I said we don't chase the marginal click.
Oh.
And so somebody said, David H. said that Marginal Click is the name of the band. Is a good band name, but I think it's the album name.
So why don't you, I want to know what your terms of service are.
All right, I have a bunch of other terms of service.
Please tell me.
So first of all, I don't blue book.
Well, that's like most people, then. That's not.
No, most people do blue book. You learn it in one.
Most of your people blue book, but most people don't need to like.
I'm sorry. When you write a law review article, what format do you have to do all the citations in?
Blue book.
Yeah.
But like,
and
you're not a legal academic. That is incumbent upon the legal.
I'm not. I don't blue book. People ask me to blue book things all the time.
Oh my God, Mateo, blue book form. Shut up! You're so lucky you don't know what blue booking is. The Harvard Law Review decided to create its own standard for legal review called the Harvard Blue Book, which they literally are minting money off of because they like charge a subscription fee for the online version and charge you like $25 a copy for like the physical version of their inane rules of hyphenation and abbreviation and formatting for cites and texts and footnotes.
I just want to say I'm in the blue book, and I don't blue book.
You really are? Fuck you, really? You're in the blue book? That is like that's epic. That's like being in
I'm the example of the non-contiguously paginated magazine article.
Oh, that's actually perfect for you.
Yeah. So I just want to say,
like the improper use of a semicolon clonic.
Yeah, exactly. So but I don't blue book. All right, you get to give us another term of service now.
That you cannot expect me that you're not going to hook me by asking me to I will faster decline something with an offer to write than I will decline it with just an offer to speak. Like, I am not hungry to create things to write for, and you're smiling because I have an 18-month overdue deadline.
I was smiling because of that on the one hand, and the fact that Daniel in the chat wrote non-contiguously paginated. Now there's a good name. Yeah. So the two of those in combination got me.
So, I mean, so that, I just, if you're we have this opportunity for you to write for a symposium, and I'm like, I am sure that I will be at some point, very hungry for those types of things and very eager. But for right now, those are, a surefire way of being that means that there are 20 fewer students that I can talk to or have interaction with because I will be writing something and I cannot possibly do that. And so I don't do that. But what's your next terms of service? Do you have I'm very curious to know your travel terms of service. We have assumed that doesn't exist, but I have to think that you had lines that you drew before COVID around this idea.
When people ask me to travel?
Yeah. To give a talk, what was whether you were going to be a panelist or the keynote or something like that.
my rule about travel is very simple. If you are not somebody I care about, or a nonprofit organization that I believe in, that I have some affinity for and therefore want to do a service for, or a group of students, in which case I have an academic rate. I charge a lot of money to travel.
It's a very strange culture in academia in which you're really you're expected to maybe you'll give an honorarium. You're always expected to cover travel and hotel and for a person, but you really are not. It is gauche to ask for money to if I'm going to go speak at Rutgers or Indiana, they'll pay for my hotel and they'll pay for my travel, but there is no fee for the speaking fee or the fact that I've lost 36 hours of my life traveling there and back.
I don't go to academic conferences is my terms of service. I sometimes hold them.
Were you part of that Hoover conference that we did?
Yeah, I ran it. Yeah.
Okay.
I ran
that
it.
Was, I was just saying to Nate personally that that remains the high point of in my mind for the last 6 years, the high point of the conversation around internet reform. Maybe we should have another one with those same people.
So I'm disturbed to see in the chat, by the way, that there is a question about whether I have been removed as the non-consecutively paginated magazine article. John Hawkinson says he does not see me in there. So I am, it was certainly the case that I was there for a long time.
I believe you. I probably have one version or another of that. They pay, they give them to me because I have
been removed, Paula says.
No.
Whoa.
That's so harsh. Oh,
that is harsh. It's like a form of cancel culture.
You should find on eBay a vintage edition of the Blue Book that you were still in and highlight it and put it in amber. No, don't do that.
Yeah, we're embedded in my
I actually
conference
just
table.
Don't do that because I'm going to do that for your birthday, which is coming up. So don't do that.
This is terrible. Richard Wattenbarger, it's your fault. Something about Karl Orff.
What's your term? So first of all, we know this wasn't your question, Richard, but what are your terms of service?
I was ready for this.
And also, what are your terms of service? And then also, I do like this question, although I haven't followed the controversies, so you'd have to explain it a little bit. But first, what are your terms of service, Richard?
Some of them standard, no endnotes, no author date citations.
Wait, no endnotes as in no notes or footnotes?
Footnotes.
Yes, correct. Okay.
And then but the most important one is you disturb my delicately calibrated hierarchy of commas, dashes, and parentheses, and your ass is mine.
Well put. Yeah. I find that I have definitely found that there is the delicate composition is often so I go back and read it and it made so much sense where I put that comma as I was completing it in the the dialogue of my brain into the sentence of where I would have paused in speech, but doesn't actually make sense in writing. Anyways, I think that this is hard.
I always look at it a positive phrases and the like. I look at them as as existing in a hierarchy of how important is this, and so I do use way too many dashes, or some people would say I use way too many dashes. Most people would say that. I disagree, but.
I'm glad we agree on this. So wait, I want to hear what happened with the Nobel Prize today. I saw the two winners,
yes.
the two journalists.
And I thought they were, worthy worthy recipients of the Nobel Prize. Although there's a lot of talk that why did they, why did they pass over Navalny for the Nobel Peace Prize? And so, this just kind of got me thinking. I've long thought over the history of Nobel Peace Prize. You have some really good ones, but you have some real weird ones and some just some really bad ones. For example, it was insane that they awarded Obama the Nobel Peace Prize not even 10 months into his presidency.
I mean, I think that he also thought that was insane.
Yeah.
I mean, I think that it was such a bad move in a million ways. Yeah. But sorry, but go ahead.
Now this is a reflection more not on Obama, but on the Peace Prize Committee.
On the committee, yeah.
Yeah, the other another example is the way they, it's actually something I kind of supported, but when they gave Albarade and the atomic, what is it? The proliferation thing. It was. I'm sorry. It's 2002. It was Carter when they awarded him the Nobel Peace Prize during the run-up to the Gulf War, and it was very much seen. The timing was seen as a political statement there, and I'm thinking, what's going on with these people there? And then there have been some similar things like that over the years. I'm just wondering, outside of the recipients who receive a large bowl of money, does the Peace Prize really have any significance anymore? Does it mean anything? Or did it ever? I mean, I guess it must have at one time, but it just seems it seems weird. They still do it, but
the Nobel Peace Prize is an abomination in the sight of God, and here's the reason. Because, so there's two ways to award the Nobel Peace Prize. And by the way, I think extremely highly of the woman who received it today, whose interview with Evelyn Dueck on the Lawfare podcast from several months ago is very worth your time.
Quick candidate for your weekend.
Yes, well, that will be on our weekend list. But here's the problem. So you can give it to a worthy dissident, which is the Maria Ressa model or the Navalny model. And that's always a good move until the dissident becomes the president of the country, like Edvard Shevardnadze, and becomes a dictator in his own right, which actually does happen a fair bit with dissidents. Now, Edvard Shevardnadze never got a Nobel Peace Prize, and I'm sure the Nobel Committee is very relieved about that. But the bigger problem is that the dissident is the classic example of that is Aung San Suu Kyi, who went from the Nobel laureate dissident to the apologist for genocide of the Rohingya. So the other model for the Nobel Peace Prize is to take the person who does the most for peace in the world in a given year. And the problem with that model is that same person is very vulnerable to the next year, say, starting a war in Eritrea or in not in Eritrea, in Tigray, there is a long history from Yasser Arafat to lots of people who've been given the Nobel Prize based on a particular moment in time that didn't turn out to be the end of history, and subsequent history didn't treat them so well. And so I would say, don't give anybody the Nobel Prize until they're dead. That is my. I think the Nobel Prize should be given
posthumously
to the family of somebody whose life is a
No, don't agree.
Those are my terms of service.
Not the not the monetary award. Like, why the fuck does like the family have some type, like they would be really great at distributing this money because they're the family? No, they're
fine. Then give it away in his or her name.
Yes.
But the point is, like,
yes.
like,
like literally, like people know that they're in contention for this and have been like notified, and there are ways that people know, and they're being like cleared and like
or retired. Vetted. They can be. I don't even care that much if they're dead, but just like don't think you're going to choose people mid-career and say, "Oh, Kate Klonick for this brilliant contribution to peace," and Kate's busily like building nukes in her basement.
Yeah, I mean, which I am.
Which you are.
There's also like, but I really do like. I love this because this is.
Toy Tanks has the answer. Toy Tanks writes, you don't have to wait for somebody who can die. You can just give them the award and then kill them.
It's just like the Texas abortion law. It's just like a bounty. No, there's. I do think that there is like this very real kind of idea that you're catching some, like the idea of peace is like a completely naive philosophy of monolithic conceit, and that like obviously peace can involve war, and it in fact does invoke war. It's kind of like saying like, I'm really happy now, and how do you know you're happy? It's like, well, because I was sad before and I know what sadness is. And so like, but I mean, just as quickly it can turn the opposite. And like, it's just it's a very I do think I like this idea that it's about like a rewarding of a contribution over time, because like if you really want to make your award not about kind of a person or necessarily a branding or necessarily about you as an award giving function, then like the thing that you should do is not tether it to the person, but tether it to some type of institution that the person is entrusted. And if you gave people the option of like saying like, you've been nominated for a Nobel Prize, like literally there's probably thousands of people this is true of, and they could name a donor or update it, that they could then give that to posthumously, like that would be, I think that would be significant. I think that would, and it's something that like in this day and age, I think like digitally, we're very capable of like kind of updating those priors. We have Joel the Nudge. Joel, so great to see you.
What are your terms of service, Joel?
Yeah, what are your terms of service?
My terms of service? We were discussing my candy provisions earlier in the sidebar.
So that's our terms of service. We call that a rider.
But like David Lee Roth had an M&M situation
that's
that he required,
on your
blah,
contract.
blah, blah.
It's not a terms of service.
So I was saying that all candy must be within 1 ounce plus or minus of a standard Snickers.
Oh, a standard Snickers. So like...
Yeah, the standard old school Snickers, so when the candy's involved, it has to be within 1 ounce plus or minus.
So like if you had like, I don't understand. So like a Twizzler. Would you need a Twizzler that is the size of a Snickers? I don't understand.
Now one, there might be a sort of a rider here because I actually like a Twizzler a lot. Especially if I'm watching a movie.
They're really good, right?
All right.
Right. So we might get some weight variance because of personal, affection.
Okay.
I want to confess a very important terms of service for me.
You don't like Twizzlers?
I don't use the word problematic.
Oh, me too. I went to Brown University and everyone used this word, that and the hegemony, and I've stopped using both of them.
So hegemony works in the context of international relations.
Yeah.
Right? So like where you have a hegemon. But there is no circumstance in which you need to use the word problematic.
Yeah, that's
problematic. I'm sorry.
In all situations, you can replace problematic with a problem.
I think that's problematic.
I'm just telling you, I don't use it. If you want to interact with me, you can't also demand that your interlocutors are saying problematic.
I think that's a good. Joel, what are you drinking?
This would be the St. Bernard's Abbott 12, as always,
Oh, you
in
sent
a
it to us. It was
ridiculously
so good.
pretentious glass.
Yeah.
It is a beautiful, pretentious glass, though.
Yes,
I
it's good.
know, it's just ridiculous. Okay, so I have one last item that I'd like to broach prior
Please.
to my graceful exit, and that is, when is In Lieu of Fun Con? How much are the tickets, and where do I get a T-shirt?
We
I wanna
don't
sit in
know,
on
we
the
don't know, and
candid
we don't
panel, by the
know.
way.
Well, you can get the T-shirt now on the.
Not for the con, though. The convention.
It's a long con. Joel.
Very good, Kate.
Bing! Very nice.
I think we should have a poll on where the con is going to be.
I think that that's great. I think that Joel's question is great. I'm gonna put the poll up. But Ben, what are the options that I should put in the mix?
Well, I don't know. You're on the comm today, so.
No.
All right.
You
Rev
see-
says Wilmington, Delaware has got to be on the
I
list.
know. I'll put it in there just because.
Estonia, Tallinn,
Estonia.
DC, maybe.
Wilmington. People calibrate your answers accordingly. Oh my God, people are going nuts. Delphi. You're not voting when you text into the chat, just FYI. Camp David. Yeah, I'm not going to include that one. The Amtrak private rail car is like compelling, but too compelling and jokey to be taken seriously, so I'm not going to put it on. Okay. London, I'll put that on. Okay. Canada. It's a big country, but I'll just like stick it in there.
Anywhere in Canada.
I know. Sorry, Pauline. I know.
Yeah, Kate's house in Cape Cod. Her parents would love that.
My parents are not into that. I can't even have friends over, so there's like not. It's their house. They make the rules. This is why I don't join the housing association.
We seem to have a lot of people advocating for Philly. No, Daniel, we're not having it in a murder hornet's nest. That just seems like unpleasant for everybody.
There's a lot of wow, a lot of DC. Okay, so it's changing. Anyway, we'll see. I'll look back in a second. I generally think that we should have something. Maybe as stuff kind of calms down in a couple of months. I don't know what's happening with our travel schedules, Ben, respectively, meaning kind of like that we're both kind of tied into various travel things in December. But it would be fun to have something around the holidays, maybe as a con somewhere.
I think it'd be great fun.
What did you vote in the poll? DC?
I have not voted in the poll.
Well, you
no,
have
I
to
think
vote.
I think in honor of Thomas, I'm gonna vote for Estonia.
Oh, great. Throw away your vote. Just throw it away.
Look, somebody suggested Cape Breton Island, which seemed like a great idea to me.
But where's that?
It's in Canada.
Oh, okay.
It's very.
I
very
like
beautiful.
that, but I have Canada. Why didn't you vote for Canada?
Because it's too not specific enough. Hello, Paula.
Hi,
What are your
Paula.
terms of service?
Yeah, what are your terms of service, Paula?
Like my personal terms of service, because no one's hiring me to come like speak somewhere.
No. If there were a click-through agreement and somebody had to agree to it to interact
no one
with
was hiring
Paula.
me to speak anywhere when I was your age. Trust me, it's completely fine. That's actually normal.
I mean, Kate says I'm not participating in your prep call, and for your Zoom conference, and what was the second one?
Oh, that I will not write.
Yeah, that she's not writing anything for you
in physical form, like before I go. Like
yeah, I wish she told me that before she agreed to write a paper. But and mine are, I'm not going to use the word problematic, no matter how much you want me to, and I forget the other one. So, what are yours?
Well, I think like my real one is like if we're like. I wouldn't say for everyone because I wouldn't want this to apply to everyone. But if I'm very close with you, like I have to be able to show up at your house at any time that I want. Like that's like a thing. I don't know why. Like I just like, even if you like live across the country, if I just want to get on a plane and come to your house.
Does it have to be without? Can it be without warning? Like you just show up?
No,
or,
I'll text you.
But like text 5 minutes before you show up, or before you get on
I'll
the plane?
text when I'm leaving.
I see. Okay, that's.
I'm just like, I'm like that. Like if I want to like see someone, like I'm totally like, I'm just gonna show up. I think Mateo also put in the chat, no requests for feet pics. I will throw like no requests for feet pics or nudes in there. Like not a thing that I'm okay with.
Okay, so that's a positive and a negative. Things that you do expect and things that you will not do. It's kind of like me. I won't use the word problematic. You won't send feet pics.
Yeah. I don't know. Maybe like the first one is just like growing up. Like, I don't know if you like grew up and your parents left the door open at your house and it was just never like locked. No. Okay.
No.
I think we need to bring Mateo on and find out what his terms of service are.
What are Mateo? Like, I don't know what is Mateo here.
Yeah, he's here.
Yeah.
He's just wrote that this is insane. I think he's
not available live. So
well, Mateo, put your terms of service in the chat here. We need to know.
It's gonna be you have to request feet pics.
No, but like seriously, okay.
Mike Godwin is backing me up on problematic.
We have 4 minutes. Paula,
yes.
Question.
Now that I almost have 100 followers on Twitter, which basically means that I'm famous, if I were going to start a podcast or Substack, what should I write about?
Because that's as a person who only is compelled to write when they have something to say, write about whatever you want to write about. Like, and never. I had like when I used to write a blog when I was your age, I guess, like after college and like whatever. I just always did it related to like whatever moved me. And it was never, I didn't write regularly. I didn't do whatever. It was just it was very intermittent. It never had anything more than 4 followers. And when I started dating John, about 2 years into like my blog, which was like really crappy and on my personal website, John read every single one of my blog posts before he went on a first date with me. And then like declared it like, and like then made a bunch of references to like my blog post in the first date. And
was it like one of like, what is it called? Is it called Blogspot? Is that, what was that one? It was like, it had the
Live Journal.
Well, I did have Live Journal, but this was post Live Journal. I was over Live Journal at this point.
But that's
it was WordPress. But like I use
what's the one with like where it's like a bee and like it's maybe like an orange logo and like because I feel like is it? That's actually really cute and I know
it's so retro. It's like having having a rotary dial phone.
My old nutrition coach was like kind of famous on Instagram and someone like a guy was like, I believe if I'm correct, like followed her on Instagram and like knew her from her Instagram stories and then DM'd her and like would make all these references to her like stories and then they started dating and then became married.
There you go.
That's like the modern version of what you're talking about, but with like Instagram stories.
We'll talk about this offline.
All right, everybody, I have put in a link to Paula's Twitter feed. You should all follow her.
I am now officially over 100 followers. Thank you.
Yeah,
bye, Paula.
Bye, Paula. So, Kate, we need more terms of service from you.
No, we don't. I think that we have to wrap. But my final terms of service will be like that you have to end on time.
I have one more.
That you have to start on time?
Well, we know that. You started on time today. I have no beef with you today about starting on time.
I know.
Now, my terms of service, this is an important one, and I think all people who watch in lieu of fun are at least tacitly comfortable with this, is dog shirts.
Oh, yeah.
Like, if you have too big a problem with dog shirts, there are many other people to hang out with in the world.
Did you watch the scandal that unfolded around Jeff Horowitz and his appearance on Meet the Press?
No.
I mean, you love Jeff because of his.
I do. Yeah.
But he went on Meet the Press and he was wearing a headband And hold on, I'm trying to get an image up really quickly. And I thought it was, I mean, I didn't really see like I didn't really see the scandal in it. Hold on, put it dropping in the chat. Hopefully that like pans out. But it was like a thing, and Ben Smith showed up to his thing wearing like a soccer headband or something. You didn't see this?
No,
How did you not see this? Like, and so Jeff got completely eviscerated by people for like showing up looking like this in and like it actually is like very much like a dog shirt type of moment. This is kind of this moment in which he like wore this. He's been wearing a headband on a lot of TV before this, but anyway, I just like it's very interesting to me. Like
so I have this is actually a serious terms of service thing.
Yeah.
I do not comment about, at least
People's
never
appearance.
in public, about what people wear or how they look. I feel particularly strongly about it about women's appearance, where people feel very free to offer their opinions in ways that are not necessarily wanted or not necessarily useful. And they often do it under the guise of being helpful or being concerned, and it's actually a passive-aggressive form of being an asshole. I feel the same way about men. And if Jeff Horowitz wants to wear a headband on Meet the Press, that's fucking fine with me. And I have no problem with it, and I think everybody should let people express themselves the way they want to express themselves physically, and just chill out about what other people are wearing and what color their hair is, and all that shit. Just shut up about it.
Yeah, it's a good terms of service.
That's my terms of service. My last term of service.
I'm with you, Ben. It is 6:02 p.m. We will be back and 58 minutes from now.
I think it's 70 hours.
I know. But it's 71, 72, 71, 71 hours and 58 minutes from now, right?
I think it's 70 hours and 58 minutes from now, but I'm not sure.
Okay.
Maybe it's 71.
Is
Who
it daylight
knows?
savings this weekend?
I thought you told me there wasn't going to be any math
Yeah,
in this,
I know.
in this
Where's
show.
Jordan when you need him? 58 minutes and some hours from now. And we will be back. Who do we have on Monday? I'm actually very excited about it. I think I've like lined up a good week, even though it's Columbus Day. We will be having a show. Dwayne's on the show on Monday. Dwayne Betts will be back on Monday.
That's MacArthur Award winner. Dwayne Betts.
So great. I'm so excited to hang out with him. So that'll be on Monday. We have Britton on Tuesday. We have Emily Oster on Wednesday. That'll be awesome.
It's a good deal.
And Paul Rosenzweig on Thursday. It's like a pretty good week. We actually have it planned. It's good. That will be and 58 minutes from now. And until then, Ben.
We don't have fun anymore, but if you click through the agreement, you can interact with us based on our terms of service.
Y2K.
Y2 fucking K.
Y2KK.